must mean that we have sunshine outside. Hooray for that. Today is Saturday. Yeah. Today's Saturday, March 21st. And I want to ask how you're doing. How is everybody holding up? We have made it through, I think it's been about a week since we've been self-isolating here. And so far, there's been no blood, no broken bones, no tears even. So I think we're doing okay. And I hope the same is happening for you guys. I encourage, or we have been talking so much about the idea of using a journal as a place to put our artwork in and make visual marks in it. But I also wanted to point out that you can use your journal and write in a diary style format. Write your feelings, write what you're experiencing, write down what each day encompasses. You'll have a nice little time capsule to go back to in the future. And I guess you don't even necessarily have to write. You can be recording videos or making songs or doing little vlogs or writing scripts. So anyway, adapt it to whatever feels the best for you. So just as a little recap, this is Journal Through It, where Ardith Goodwin and I are presenting a free journaling lesson, prompt, sharing some of our tools and processes. We're trying to do that every day for you during this coronacation time. So I have a page on my website. My website is KimberlySantini.com, and there's a Journal Through It page that is dedicated to everything about this class, including links to all of the lessons, which so far have been live streamed here on Facebook, both on my page here and on Ardith's. So I've got links to all that content, and I've also got some accessory links to additional videos and other materials that we're referencing during our sessions. So yeah, here we go, right? I wanted to share earlier in the week I talked about using lines in an emotive way, and I am continuing to fill out my calendar page of lines using or allocating one of the cells in each of the pages for what I happen to be feeling that day and using lines to express that. So I just thought I would share this page as it evolves, and I'll continue to do that. Going forward, I don't have a place to put this. Share work and pages as they change, because remember, my big concept here is layers, working in layers. So my pages are constantly evolving, and I'm going back and putting marks over top of things. So just want to give you a visual for that. Today, what I want to talk about is drawing objects in motion and working with objects that are in motion, and we're going to work with butterflies. And I want to talk a little bit about the history of a butterfly and its history, or how we tend to draw it when we sit down or think of a butterfly, how we tend to picture it. Typically, we'll picture a butterfly in this sort of fashion, with its wings spread open so that we can see the beautiful marks and colorations in the wings. And I really think that the stylized, symmetrical shape of a butterfly that we all know and recognize came about from art history, where hundreds of years ago, before there was the internet, before there were cameras or a way for anyone to capture on film or digitally what they were seeing and experiencing, there were artists. And if you were an explorer or a scientist and you were planning a trip to another country or another world that people hadn't really seen, you would hire an artist to come along with you. And that artist would draw the botanical samples that you collected while you were traveling. And they would label them with their, I'm not going to know the right proper terminology, but they would label the plants with their names, with their proper Latin names, and any sort of scientific information that went along with that sample would be documented in this drawing. And these they were called botanical illustrators. These botanical illustrators would illustrate butterflies in this format for us, so that people who saw their drawings later on, when they went back to their home countries or communities, would be able to see the patterning and the intricacy of the wings or the bugs, the insects, and the plants. So it's my personal belief that our stylized view of botanical illustration. And I actually am fascinated by botanical illustration, and always have been, as a matter of fact. And I'm writing down right now, hold on, I have a cat who's eating a journal. I'm writing down right now that I think we should do a journal lesson on that. But what I am going to do is, when I archive this video on my webpage, I'll include a link to some botanical illustrations and history of that, in case that's something that interests you as well. So you can take a look at the history of drawing butterflies as you approach or begin to draw your own today. So we have the standardized shape of a butterfly where its wings are symmetrical. We know that symmetrical means the same on either side. If we could fold this butterfly in half, it would meet up perfectly. The wings would be hinged and meet up perfectly to match that symmetry. So this is our stylized view of a butterfly. But what do butterflies actually look like in flight? Because if we think of our hands as a butterfly, and they're hinged at the wrist. So here we go. This would be the butterfly open up completely and facing us. But how often does that actually happen in the real world? We're going to get a butterfly like this, maybe like this, sometimes like this, like this. Do you see what I'm saying? There's so many different ways or angles or perspectives of that butterfly and the wings and how they move. So we have a huge, endless way of potential angles that we can utilize when we draw them. You can use your imagination to figure out or guess at how that might look. And years ago, before there were video cameras, to document the movement of a butterfly, that was pretty much all that artists had to go on, was their imagination and trying to figure out how this object might look when it actually was moving. And keep in mind, there were artists who were trying to draw and paint things in their paintings that they had never actually experienced in their life yet. So they're relying on these botanical illustrations and other books and knowledge of other people to create some of their imagery. So in today's world, it's really easy for us to think, oh, I just need a reference photo and I can draw that. But really, you have your brain, you have your imagination, and you don't always have to go to a reference photo. I find often that work that is pulled from inside of us or inside of an artist is far more fascinating for me to look at than something rendered from a reference photo. I guess I have a deeper fascination for seeing inside other people than I do for seeing work that is rendered to a realistic extreme. It takes tremendous talent to work photo representationally, and it is a lot of work to do that. I know that was how I learned to draw, learned to paint. But as I've grown as an artist, and as my viewpoints have changed and my life experiences have changed, I really value the artist's individual or unique touch that an artist can bring to the piece. I find that's far more original and fascinating for me to experience. That's just my own personal point of view. So I'm encouraging you to approach drawing your butterflies in multiple ways. Use your imagination. Try to think about how that butterfly might move about if it were in front of you, and then draw it. And then also use a reference video. There's a million of them out on YouTube. And take a look at a reference video and stop it. Do some stop or pause the video and take a look at how those wings actually move. We're going to do that in a little bit. But try both approaches and see if one feels more comfortable for you than the other. And that might be the map, the road map you need for where you're going to go with your work. I want to share a couple of paintings that I did where I was trying to did a whole series of butterflies, and the majority of them sold. But I have a few here. Let me bring this in. Can you see this? So I feel like it's a little bit out of focus, but my glasses might be dirty. I was trying to think of butterfly as a specimen, but also if its wings were fluttering, there might be a little bit of echo of movement around the perimeter. This was also a butterfly that I painted from my imagination. So I was thinking about the pattern of decoration or the patterns of their wings and how they were structured and how they might look fantastically. So this is one little painting. Here is a painting of some dragonflies. Let me square that off. This is a dragonfly, and it's in motion. So you can see it actually traveling across the painting. You can see its wings in motion. And the other thing that I wanted to try to paint was the sound of the dragonfly's wings. They have like a gentle buzzing or a whir as they move. And so that was what I was trying to accomplish. Sometimes when you try to paint something that isn't visual, it can be a challenge, but plug into your imagination and you'll find a vocabulary. Just like we were using lines as emotive marks, you can do the same with color and shapes. So here is another, I believe this was a moth because the body is so much heavier, but just thinking about how those wings happen to rotate and twist and move as the moth or the bug is in flight. So that's one of the challenges that I'm going to give you to work on today. We're not going to work in paint, so don't worry. You don't have to mix colors or anything like that. But we're going to use pencil and colored pencil and think about the butterfly in flight and do some drawings and layer them so that we can get or try to capture the essence or the sensation of a butterfly being in movement. So I have this video here, and I'm going to share a link to it as well on my when I archive this. Let me get this video going, and I want you to get it going in upside down and backwards. And I want you to watch. Let me see. I don't want any glare. I want you to pay attention as you watch to the outer edge of the butterfly wings. Think about the butterfly as a shape and just look at these outer edges and pay attention to how the shape of the outer edges changes. That's going to be our strategy or our approach when we try to draw this. So let's take a look, and let me hold this still again so that everybody can see. Did I not hit it twice? There you go. Do you see how that shape changes? Sometimes you don't even see both wings. Often they aren't even symmetrical. At some angles, the butterfly looks like a bird even. Okay, let's pause this. I'm going to set it aside. Put my butterfly samples down. And get my book up. So if I were to draw these butterflies, that butterfly that I just saw from memory, as I recall, it started out sort of, it was almost like a triangle shape, wasn't it? Can you see this? Yes, you can see it. It's very, very faint. I'm not using a whole lot of pressure with my pencil. I tend to draw very light. So I have a butterfly body and I have the wing that's closest to us here. I'm going to draw the opposing wing. And I'm just going to carry that line all the way through. Even though we didn't see the opposing wing in its entirety, I like to try to imagine what it might look like if the wing facing us was visible. So then as the butterfly started to move, I think this wing kind of came up and it became more of a shallow space. And then the body started to lift, so we'll redraw the body. Let's see, then this wing went out more. And this wing maybe was out some too, but it kind of torqued and it was flatter. And then we have another butterfly here. And I think the wings are coming back up together again, so they're and the butterfly's tilted away from us. So these aren't like perfect drawings. Let me bring this in closer because I'm not sure that you can really see this. These aren't perfect drawings of what a butterfly looks like. They aren't completely symmetrical. But do you see how you get a sensation of movement? This drawing, which is a very static thing, suddenly has life because we can imagine that this shape of a butterfly, it's just enough that we recognize it as a butterfly. There's just enough symmetry there that our brain says, oh yeah, I think that's a butterfly. But it's not perfect and it doesn't have to be. And here it is, gently taking off and floating away. So this is just drawn from imagination. What if I went back to this video and I went back to the very beginning part? Hold on. All right. I'm going to pause it. And I'm going to try to do this on the tabletop here so that let's see. This is the page I want you to see, and I have my video right here. And color pencils out of the way. So using my I did these drawings using my imagination. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a series of drawings using what's actually in front of me. And I'm going to do those drawings and do them on a piece of wax paper. Or this is actually deli paper. I'm just doing them on here for a demonstration purpose so that we can overlay them. So I'm looking again at the outer shape of the butterfly. I'm tracing this here with my pencil. Do you see this? Here's the body. And then here's the outer bit of the wing. The wing is basically like a triangle, but it has a little bit of a dip where the two pieces of the wing meet, and it's a little bit more rounded. It's almost like a sail on a sailboat. So I'm just going to draw those outer edges. Look at that. Remember in my first drawing how I added that wing that was behind it? So I'm just going to pretend and I'm going to add that wing there. Now let's see this go. I have this go a little bit further. Oh, I want to pause it and get, stop. All right, go back. Pause. All right, so now I've paused my video and we have sort of this sailboat or triangle shape now. It's oriented on a different axis because the body has moved. One wing is much larger than the other. So let's draw that with keeping the original position of the butterfly in mind. I'm going to draw that right up here. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. It just needs to be close enough. So do you see how I've now got this butterfly in flight? And actually, I feel like this wing is moving more than the other visually, so I'm going to draw it again. Very similar shape, but a little bit different to demonstrate that it's in motion. Now this version doesn't even look like much at all. But let's put it right here. I can continue to pause this video and draw what I see just as a shape. And I can do this for the whole duration of the video. Now what I want to do is compare these drawings to what I've got here. Do you see how when I overlap them, there's some really cool things happening? Really fascinating shapes, and now it looks like there's multiple butterflies in flight. So what I want to do now is take some of these drawings that I did from life and add them to this page that I did of butterflies from my imagination. So I'm just going to think, I love this shape here. It's really quite an abstract shape, but when it's put alongside these other shapes that are very butterfly-like, it makes sense. It becomes a butterfly. So I want to draw that shape, a very similar shape to that, right here. Look at that. That's become another butterfly. I'm going to take this shape right here, and I'm going to draw it down here. Let's see. And again, we spend so much time, or at some point in our lives, we think that our artwork has to be very precise and perfect and representational in order for it to be valid. And I want to tell you that that is not the purpose of art journaling. That is not the purpose of every single piece of artwork in the world. Being able to draw representationally is a wonderful skill, but it's not, drawing representationally is not the only way to draw. And I think Ardith touched on that really well yesterday in her lesson. I think she did a fantastic job of talking about the value of creativity in all its different forms. So I'm just going to continue to make variations of these butterflies that I have. Now I have this wonderful sort of spread here with these butterflies in movement. So just to break down what we just did, start with the idea of a butterfly. Imagine it in your head. Imagine it as its wings open and close. Remember the video that we just watched and use your imagination along with your memory of the video and draw a butterfly 3 times, 3 different poses on your page. As you place those drawings, think about the natural progression of the butterfly as it goes from a static stage and begins to fly. So think about where you're going to place those drawings on your page. You might want to start wherever your first location is. You want to give yourself room so that that butterfly can fly into the rest of the space on your page. So you're going to do 3 drawings from your imagination. Then you're going to go back and you're going to watch the video. You can use the pause button, and I want you to do 3 more very simple outline drawings on a separate piece of paper of butterfly in motion, and then take those drawings that you did from the video and copy them very loosely over top of what's already here in your journal, the 3 that you did from memory. And you're going to have a wonderful little flutter party happening on your page. And it will be comprised of drawings done from your imagination as well as drawings done from a reference. Now the really fun part comes in. So the next stage of this is to reach for some colored pencils. I'll put this back up here for you. Re-angle this. Reach for colored pencils, crayons, something that may have color to you. You could do watercolors too if you wanted to. Now, I mentioned that my lines were really light. I made my lines really, I tend to have a light hand when I draw anyway, but I like to make my lines light because that means later on when I go in with color, I don't have to erase them. So let me show you this. This is the same idea that I just shared with you about the butterflies and layering the drawings, but this is a drawing done from a bouquet of flowers. And the flowers are all overlapping, they're touching each other. It doesn't matter, they don't have to exist in space that is uniquely their own. This is a very imaginative drawing done from life. And you'll see the lines are pencil lines, very light, but then there's also some lines in the drawing that I picked up with colored pencil, and I added some color into the drawing by going over top of the lines with a colored pencil. You'll also see that there are some areas that I shaded with a colored pencil as well. And when I shade with a colored pencil, really all I'm doing is changing the pressure that I'm using. Where I color with a bit more pressure, I get a darker value, and if I color with a really light amount of pressure, I get a lighter value, and I'll demonstrate that for you. So I want you to look at your butterfly drawing and think about or try to imagine what it might look like if you added color to it, because that's what we're going to do. Now you can choose to add color that's representational of the butterfly itself. This was a blue butterfly, so I may start out with some blue. I'll go ahead, I'm using some colored pencils here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to gently outline the swing with the blue, and I'm going to do some shading. So remember, with shading, it's all pressure oriented. So I can shade really dark and hard, and then feather it out to a lighter pressure. And look what happens. Now it might be tempting to want to shade the entire wing. I'm going to resist that temptation because I want this to be imaginative. I want there to be a surprise. I want there to be a surprise element to it. And I'm going to do, because the wings change color as the light hits them, I'm going to do this other wing in a different color. And I'm just going to put a little bit of shading along that edge. Now you could put way more butterflies on your page than I have here. I've kept it really simple because of time constraints. But if I were not videoing this, I would be tempted to spend hours drawing these butterflies and layering them over and over top of each other until I just had an entire page full. And then you can do that. You can put as few or as many as you like. Let's do some shading here from the body out too. So I think you get the idea of the concept of outlining these. And so you don't even necessarily have to outline a single butterfly in the same color. Do you see how I just went one butterfly up to that? I find that really, really interesting. Actually, this one, I think what I'll do is I'll take my shading outside of the butterfly. And notice that when I approached this page, I did not have a plan in mind. I did not have a design that I was following. I'm just working intuitively, responding to things as they show up on the page and asking myself, what if? Because it's really, this isn't neurosurgery, it isn't anything life-altering, it's just a journal page. So there's another one. I think I'm not going to outline this one, but I am going to shade it a little bit. And I'll put some shading in here that's going to try to bridge that connection between the two butterflies. Do you see that? So I can't wait to see what you do with your pages. Let me bring this in a little bit closer so that you can get a sense of how the color changes it. It has a really subtle and beautiful, soft feeling. Now, here is an added challenge to you. After you do that, take some of your drawings and transfer them onto something that is transparent. So I have this box. I bought this at Costco years ago, so I have like a lifetime supply of dry wax paper. It's a great tool for drawing, and it's far less expensive than tracing paper. This is what I did my original butterfly drawings on. And the wonderful thing about it is that it's see-through or transparent. So when you go to, you can actually compare your drawing and lay it over top of what you've already drawn and do that sort of thing. But what I have here are a couple of different butterflies that these are drawings that I have in another journal that I traced with the using a Sharpie and the wax paper. I just put the paper right over top. Let me see, where's this one? Let me see. I put the paper right over top and I just traced my drawing. If you're really uncomfortable drawing, you can always do this with a photo or with your computer screen. Just be really careful that if you're using a Sharpie, it doesn't go through your paper and bleed onto your computer screen, because that would be not a pretty thing. And here I have 3 separate butterflies, and how did I do them? I think this one came from here, and then I went and I traced I can't see where this one is. That may be, oh, this one came from here, and then this butterfly came from over here, but I colored her body in. But I placed them in an interesting shape together. So I now have these pieces of wax paper here, or deli paper, with butterflies on them. I'm going to find an interesting way. They're cut the same size, but I'm playing with overlapping them in an interesting way so that they look visually exciting, and they also look like perhaps something that might happen in the natural world. That's kind of cool. I think I like that one. I think I like this arrangement. So I'm going to take these two pieces of paper to my journal now, and I'm going to figure out where they go on my page. Here, let me put this back up on the music stand again so you can see it. So I have these two little pages of butterflies, and I'm going to figure out where they go. See, if I overlap them with things that are already here, and the color shows through a little bit, usually I really like overlapping things, but I'm feeling if they're over here, it's a little bit too smothery. I wonder. Time to get another journal out, right? Ooh. I like them on here. Oh, that's not going to stay up there. They also look really cool on this page. This is the book, the handmade book that we made the other day. Remember when I took the pieces of paper out of the trash and I stitched them together? That was my very first introductory video if you're just joining us. So here, I'm going to show you how I'm going to add these to this. I'm going to add them to this page. I'm getting a mount so that I can use my iPad for filming these sorts of lessons more clearly, just so you know this will be changing. So I like them on this page, and what I'm going to do, I've positioned the bottom page in place, and I'm just going to use some masking tape. This happens to be painter's tape, and it's a really fun purple color, but you could use any kind of masking tape. If you made washi tape yesterday, if you painted your own masking tape and you have it all decorated, this would be a perfect opportunity for you to use that. So because I want these pages to be hinged in alignment, or these drawings to be hinged in alignment with the spine of my book, I'm going to use a piece of tape on that edge. And then I'm going to layer this one over top. And I'm just eyeballing it and tearing. You can use scissors to cut if you wish. And overlap again. Now look, we've brought some butterflies in flight to another page. Look at that, we're working in layers. And ironically, I didn't even realize this when I placed the butterflies. I was only looking at them in reference to this colorful page. There's a sunflower on the opposite side. So they're actually like in their habitat. So that is my quick lesson on butterflies. Yeah. I'm ready for your questions. So I'm going to pull this up on my phone and see if I can stream through and answer your questions while I'm still here. If you have any questions, please please type them in. It's not showing up here. Hold on. Oh, hi, Brian. Hello in Chicago. Tell the boys hi. Squeeze them for me. I want to see their butterflies. Make them make butterflies for me, okay? Hi, Pam. I'm so happy you were able to join us live today. I'm really happy everybody is here. I don't see any questions, though. So I imagine you may have them as you begin to work your way through the lesson. When I sign out, give me a couple of minutes. I will put a link to this video on my webpage. I will also share the link to the butterfly video that we used in the lesson. I will put that both on this Facebook page as well as on my website. And I will also share some more information about botanical illustration too. So if that's that, I think we're done today. I hope you guys have sunshine wherever you are at, and you're able to get outside and fill your lungs and spend some time with your books and make today a beautiful day. Thanks for starting out with journaling. Ardith is going to be back with a lesson tomorrow as well as on Monday, and I will see you all on Tuesday. So have a great couple of days, and let's journal through it. See ya.